I'm Thomas Hall, Executive Director of CleanStart, and we're back today with another CleanStart Perspective. First, I want to encourage people to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, where we're most active, and you can catch this video later on YouTube. There's also Empower Innovation Networks, where you can meet and connect with other people in the clean tech space on projects. And if you go to our website today, you'll see that we're in the middle of our fundraiser campaign. So if you like what we're doing and want to support us, make sure you go to cleanstart.org and click on the donate button. Now, with that, I'd like to highlight that CleanStart is supported by SMUD, our regional utility, Chico Start, the iHub north of here at Chico State, Fresno State's the Wet Center, which is part of CEC's Innovation Cluster, River City Bank, which is a leading financer of clean tech projects in the West here, and Witten Law, a law firm that's dedicated to supporting clean tech entrepreneurs in the Sacramento region. And with that, I would like to welcome Subara Bachara, co-founder and CEO of Climate Informatics. Her company has gone through actually a lot of programs in California, including CalSeed, the Clean Tech Open, and I'm sure she'll fill us in on other ones that have helped them accelerate and build their company here. It's also a really cool, like kind of cutting edge point of what I guess you could be reductive in saying weather forecasting, but it's a lot more complicated than that because it also involves all the climate that's out there. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the co-founder and CEO of Climate Informatics and let her share her screen.
Thank you. Very good morning to all of you. And thanks, Thomas, for giving me this opportunity to speak at this forum. Let's give you a bit of background about us, and then I'll take you through the slides. So we are all familiar that we are having huge impacts of climate change, and that impacts all kinds of aspects of our lives and our businesses. However, one thing we realize is that among all these different sectors, the energy sector is perhaps the one which is most impacted because we are all having the secondary impacts from that. So for example, if you have wildfire, there is a chance that maybe, or events leading up to a wildfire, there's a chance that it may be because of extreme climate change event that is happening quietly in an unforeseen manner, and that is leading it up to conditions where you have high heat stress, high fire weather, and then even an accidental ignition often sets up a big fire in an uncontrollable manner. And that affects all the customers, interrupts businesses, poses serious risks to lives, properties, and so much more. And that's why we start our focus on the energy sector. So as you can see on my slide, that how climate change drives a train of things that leads to failures. We have climate change driving extreme events, and then that increases demands for electricity, that increases chances of failures from utilities, either leading to browning of the grid or blackouts, finally leading up to wildfires, so that we end up seeing large-scale losses in lives, properties, all of that. And finally, the end consumer pays the higher rates of electricity. All the costs of wildfire are easily transferred to the consumers, and that often affects the disadvantaged communities rather disproportionately. So what if we could tell you that a hurricane is on the way over the island of Maui, and that given our fire weather forecasts, we could see that a fire weather could lead up to a wildfire like the one that happened in Lahaina, or for the matter that happened a few years back in Paradise, California, or the more recent ones in LA. And what if we could sounded the alarms and warnings ahead of time for authorities, utilities, and other businesses to take cover to manage and mitigate the risk of this fire, could we have saved lives, loss of properties, damage, trauma, and the devastation that these events created? That is exactly what we are set out to do. Can we predict this well ahead of time for people to take proactive actions that reduces such risks? Okay, nice. All right. So introducing Informatics. At Informatics, we predict localized climate 1 day to a year ahead using climate modeling and machine learning to help prepare proactively for seasonal and annual business operations that helps protect businesses from unforeseen extreme climate risks. Our technology is actionable, climate smart, proactive, risk resilience. It can provide that, and it is scalable globally across multiple industry verticals. Current focus is on energy sector, but I want to mention one thing here is that we are not we are able to provide 1 year ahead forecasts, but we are continuously upgrading them every month so that we are always seeing the current condition as we are going into those extreme conditions. So that increases our continuity and accuracy. And overall, this helps reduce the electricity rate base, optimizes business decisions, particularly if you're an electric utility or energy company and you are worried about, high stress from heat waves or fire weathers that's going to affect your operations. You could buy reasonable time ahead, the power purchasing contracts that can actually help you get better deal on buying power should you have to go into power grid failure or blackouts to buy greener power at a cheaper rate because you have already negotiated it well ahead of time, and that can be made possible by our technology. Other than that, of course, this helps gradually build sustainability, resilience, and drive energy independence. We work a lot with the renewable energy sector. We can do solar power forecasts and other renewable energy forecasts that keeps us driving the energy independence towards renewable energy. What we do is really fill the gap between weather and climate. Let's say we understand weather from our everyday weather information, which updates every hour. So weather is what we see from a few hours to a few days. It's rather short term. And although it can help with real-time disaster response, but it does not help with preparedness because you do not get a notice long ahead in time to get prepared for the large atmospheric river storms or wildfires that's coming your way. But if you look at the long-term climate projections as what we see in the IPCC, framework, IPCC climate modeling framework, these are predefined future scenarios with large uncertainties. And so these are not really telling you about what is going to happen. These are based on several greenhouse gas emission modeling as we go into future. So what we do is actually bridge this gap between short-term weather and long-term climate with near-term, subseasonal, seasonal to annual forecast, a time range which is most important for us to make decisions, whether it's your business or other activities. You are either planning quarter to quarter or a year ahead or maybe 6 months ahead or maybe a few years ahead. So that is the time range which we are right now focusing on. So our exclusive offering is accurate hyper-local forecasts of extreme climate, extreme weather a year ahead. So here's the distinction. We are not really forecasting the weather, but we are forecasting the climate at the weather scale. What that means is the same variables like what you see in everyday weather, like temperature, rainfall, wind, solar, all of that, you can see them over a year at hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and annual precision, which seems that you're getting the weather 1 year ahead, but really what we are doing is telling you the climate. So with that, we have our technology that actually builds in all of this, builds on top of these climate models from IPCC weather models and historical observations. We use our own proprietary AI to develop the forecasts at a localized scale at any point as well as a region, depending on what's the customer's interest. And we provide them through either web interface or APIs at different time scales, like subseasonal, seasonal, and annual or more. And we have seen so far that we are accurate on our fire weather forecast till up to 95%. Our improvement on solar power has improved to more than 50% accuracy over the standard benchmark. And we have also tested on our net load forecast to have 95% accuracy. And so the product lines that we are currently working with are solar power forecast, net load forecast, fire weather forecast, extreme weather forecast, and capacity forecasting. So this is some of the product dashboards that we are working with, and they are facilitated by CalSeed awards like concept and prototype. And the two sets of suites of products that we are building with them are the Climb Ag and the Climb Energy. So the Climb Ag is basically for the agricultural sector, where using that will help manage, your irrigation information about temperature, how much water you would get. And also we are working here with a very exciting technology company, Umida Ag, who have designed this virtual water tanks, water tables that go underneath the Central Valley farms, and they want to fill that up with water so that the plants get as much water as they need through transpiration, and they minimize the evaporation from the soil, thereby saving the water. And so what we are helping them do is build a solar-powered irrigation dashboard. And this actually also works for a newer kind of business model where you want to run your irrigations at a time when you have maximum solar power, so that way most of it gets done in a green manner, in a cheaper, cost-effective manner. So we are doing that pilot with them. Other than that, we are building an early alert warning system for the heat, stress, and fire weather. This is particularly for the utilities and the utility vendors. We are working with some on that. We are working with CalFire on the fire weather forecasts, and we are also building a heat stress related illness and hospitalization app and product dashboard in partnership with the interns from UC Berkeley. So all of this work is currently supported by CalSeed and some awards from DOE, Department of Energy too. So I take you through one of our use case problems that we recently worked on. This is the Texas Smokehouse Fire. The map that you see is the location of that fire that happened in over February to March of last year. And it caused a lot of damages. It burned a lot of acreage, as you can see. So we were working with Excel Energy to see if we could have predicted that well ahead of time. And here is our first-hand results from that. We could see the temperature, the wind gust, and the drop in humidity at least 3 months ahead. And given our solution, we could have forecasted this fire weather event at least 3 months ahead. And So events like this is what we are able to see. So what we want to ensure is that if we can see the fire weather, we could have provided this information to Excel Energy, and they could have gone and secured their infrastructures and installations so that they don't, by accidentally cause the fires. It is not really possible for us to anticipate the accidental ignition of fires, but we can only help with taking precautions and preventions that such things don't happen if we know which are the more vulnerable areas climate-wise. So that's one example. The next, I take you through a demonstration of how we have been able to do the smokehouse fires and some of these recent fires in LA as well. So this is still product in development.
Hello everyone, my name is Divyam Goyal. I'm the lead engineer at Climate Informatics, and today I'll be walking you through our fire weather dashboard and our energy alert system dashboard. The fire weather dashboard aims to provide localized forecasts of a locality of choice that we can select from the drop-down here, and it also aims to provide a general understanding of the fire weather state using regional forecasts that you can select time slices of by dragging the slider here. You control the slider range using the calendar here, and likewise the forecast range using the calendar here. The aggregated metrics you see on the left have been built on top of the selected range of the forecasts that we are interested in. On a more sophisticated side, we have the energy alert system dashboard with the similar capability of providing localized forecasts of the fire weather and heat stress indices, and a regional understanding of the heat risk areas within a selected calendar range. The analytics you see on the right are a more sophisticated aggregation for the energy alert use case. Given that, this was my quick walkthrough of both of our dashboards. Thank you for your time.
So one thing I want to mention here is that although you're seeing the whole map of US, it is really that we are able to drill down to very localized areas. I mean, our visualization, this is still, product in development, but the visualization would be such that you can go from a larger area and zoom into a smaller area and choose that. And then the metrics you would see on the right and the left in terms of the heat stress index and fire weather forecasts and the possible, outages that you can get, possible demand surges that you can get, all of that would be pertaining to that small region or area or point that you choose from the application. I just wanted to clarify that. And also, once you get that forecast, we would be, as I said previously, we would be updating every month these forecasts so that whatever you would be receiving would be pretty much current. So in doing so, we are trying to remove that unforeseenness and, not get taken by surprise when the event is imminent. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, all right. So as we said, we are first focusing on the solar utilities and energy sector. And with that, we are having several ongoing pilots right now. And we are also in conversation with few more. The different kinds of value proposition that comes out of our work is, of course, you can get a year ahead fire weather forecasting, identifying high risk areas, and what it actually enables, institutions like CalFire is to be able to plan well ahead in time. So, for example, when we have spoken with fire chiefs earlier, the time to fight the fire is not when it has started. It starts much before that. And that is what we want to be able to enable through our product. That way you can prepare a budget that in the event that you have an ignition and the fire starts, how many people, what is the money, what are the resources, equipments, procurement, all of that you need to do can be put into a budget, and that budget can be done long before the fire starts. And by doing that, you are not only having the means to first go and mitigate even before the fire has started, all those areas to take care of that, but you also provide for a budgeting that is slated to do that work should the fire happen. Because we also learned from the fire chiefs that once the fire started, and depending on how many troops they have, how much money they have to spend per day to organize the fire mitigation, the troops and their delivery and their machineries is often huge. And if you have not prepared for it, it can turn out to be a large cost. So that's a case for the fire weather for CalFire. The early alert warning system is more geared towards the utilities and the utility vendors. And, it can be integrated with the smart grid systems. It can be integrated so that it can go into the business decisions of the utilities and other, let's say, softwares that they use for taking business decisions, where you are already anticipating how many power outages, when and where, what kind of, disasters you're looking at, climate related catastrophic disasters that you're looking at, and plan accordingly. And so that gives the grids a lot of flexibility, not only in their planning of operations, but also budgeting. Like, should you get into power outages, where do you provide your power to your customers from? Which transmission lines to use, which to avoid, how much to pay for them? And also, decisions like compound events, like you were getting into a heat wave, and now the heat wave has given rise to fire weather conditions when the winds have picked up. Now, as a utility or electricity provider, do you decide that you need more power to cool down, run the cooling centers, air conditioners, and so on for your customers, or do you switch off power because you have a fire weather condition? So those kind of decisions can be made in a much more succinct and meaningful way with these products that we are bringing to the table. The other two we already spoke about is the solar powered irrigation, and that actually allows for the flexible load to be used for irrigation purposes and to optimize on the solar curtailment periods. That is what we are working with the Media Ag. And then we are also able to do capacity modeling because of our hourly solar forecast. And now we are working with the hydropower as well, so that the utilities can know, or the power providers can know, how much of the, say, behind the meter solar power they're going to generate from their consumers who have, say, rooftop solar or other such renewable things, versus how much you would need to provide during the times when the sun is not there. So those kind of planning can be possible using our tool, our product. And with all of that, you can really climatize your business for a holonomic future. We are having competitions, but our niche is in the fire weather, in the heat stress, and in the solar power capacity modeling. All of that is, we are better in and improved in our temporal and spatial accuracy. This is our business model. It is data analytics as a service. It has several tires, and we have several go-to-market strategy, a threefold one. We can sell direct to customers, we can go with a channel partner, or we can provide for enterprise clients. Our ask right now is paid pilots from early adopter customers, and we are also seeking some investment of a seed investment of $4 million. And this is so that we can bring the technology to the market. We have now tested, the prototype allows us to test the CalSeed award, we are grateful to California Energy Commission, CalSeed, and New Energy Nexus for giving us this opportunity. But with that, we need to go to market. And for that, we need some investment as well as paid customers. And with the proper investment, we hope to break even in 2 years. And here is our team. So both of us, myself, Subara Bachara, and Delina Ivanova, we are from formerly Lawrence Livermore National Lab. We used to be doing climate modeling for the IPCC team there, Working Group 1. And the way we started is because we were trying to understand how to help the Livermore businesses, like you had a lot of wine country there, and how to let them know about upcoming droughts and heat conditions where they would not get a lot of water, and how they can optimize that. And that's what actually started our work once we realized that the existing climate model technology and the weather model technology that does not really take care of this subseasonal timeframes accurately enough. And that's what started our work. We have an august body of advisors. Dr. Anne-Marie Meike is formerly from our lab, Lawrence Livermore. She has been with us from day one. Mark Gottschalk, he has been our business advisor and legal counsel, also the founder of CleanTech Open, which grew into a big accelerator now. Saurav Mazumdar is our IBM distinguished data scientist, who is our AI strategist and helps us with the technical side of computing as well as business to some extent. And Dr. Peter Williams, he is the chair of the UN's Disaster Risk Reduction chapter for US, and we are very fortunate to have him as our business advisor. We have a core team of people working with us, all bright, talented guys from UC Berkeley, from UCLA, UC Riverside, and San Jose State University. We are supported by legal counsel and very expert accounting. And with that, we are very grateful for your attention. These are some of the networks we are connected with, and we are grateful for all of them because they helped us reach where we are currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, a big round of applause for that. Thank you for presenting on climate informatics. My first kind of thought is, after seeing some of the predictions there, what is free will? But my follow-up one is, so you have a really kind of technical product combining the science of climate and the science of weather forecasting all in one. Now, I used to live in Chico and have friends that worked at Weston Weather Group, and communicating to their customers what the weather was going to be was somewhat kind of the bane of their existence, because they would inevitably get a question about, like, why isn't what I want it? Why is the weather not what I want it to be? They had something very simple compared to what you have. So what are some things that you've kind of learned about how to kind of communicate your highly technical product to people like myself or Gary?
Well, that's been a challenge. We are learning every day. So when we started the work, we now feel that it was well ahead of time, and people were not even believing it. Sorry?
Just so you know, keep yourself muted. If you don't keep yourself muted, for other people, not you, of course, you will be removed.
So yeah, we started there when we had a lot of education to do to impart
Somebody Bachara said
All right, we're going to kick him out.
climate is changing, and until recently, in the last few years, when people are seeing a lot of wildfires, atmospheric rivers, floods, droughts, freezes, and so on, now they're not questioning that climate is changing, but it's still hard to make them believe that we can do something about it. We may not be able to, or at least at a small level, change the climate, but we can adapt, and we can do that if we know about it. So For example, right now, I was asked even yesterday in one of the forums, I was speaking at the Wildfire Prevention Consortium yesterday, and someone asked me that, well, do you have validation? Now, that is such an important question. We do have validations, we have predicted so many of them, and these are like hindcast forecasts, things that have happened. We go back and see, well, could we have predicted that? Now, the funny part of our work is that if we do go ahead and make these forecasts, and CalFire and other utilities, take precautions based on what we have predicted, then you will not see those fires happening. So the validation is kind of not that, hey, we could predict it and the fire happened. The validation is we could predict well ahead of time for people to take mitigation efforts, and therefore we saved a lot of losses.
That seems also like one of the things that always, if it works, you completely prevent it. And then people look at you and like, did it work?
So yeah, that's the thing. But we feel that even if it were to work, there would be a lot of cases where you would be able to limit the losses and damage. I think that is one of our main goals with this particular product. But then you do have solar, you do have wind, and other, which are more renewable energy kind of products, or more source, for example, the solar powered irrigation that we are building, those can be readily validated. You don't need a fire to happen or not to happen to validate those.
So we have a question from the chat asking about insurance providers being interested in your models. So have you had any conversations around that?
That's true. Yeah, we actually had been a part of what is called the alumni of Silicon Valley InsurTech Accelerator. And this was before COVID hit. And we went through a lot of their programs. We spoke at forums where the insurance commissioner, California's insurance commissioner, was presenting, and we presented at the same panel as a spotlight speaker. And we found that insurance companies understand that they need to implement the element of climate change in their products. However, most of the insurance companies are very risk averse, and they do not easily change their legacy risk models to reflect the dynamically changing climate. And having worked for a few years at the insurance industry, I realized that their entire risk models mostly are based on historic data and claims data. And that is very different from how it needs to be, given that you're not having 1,000-year return period anymore valid. Now it has become 10 years, 5 years. And so that change has to reflect, and that's not often coming from the, claims data. It is more about vulnerability and exposure. And
Yeah, it sounds like
they're
trying to reduce risk as opposed to find
Yeah,
customers that because they can identify the risk
yeah.
better. Now, have you seen substantial customer enthusiasm for this? Has anyone said this is something that they must have? Any key questions that customers have been able to answer for you in creating the business?
So we are getting traction from two sets of customers, actually three sets of customers. One is these capacity forecasting kind of work, which is either with solar or existing, energy grid. We are getting interest from the community choice aggregators, and they want to have both the fire predictions, fire weather predictions, as well as the renewable energy forecasts. And so we're working with them. We are getting interest from, of course, CalFire and similar entities. That's on the disaster preparedness side of things. We are also getting interest from the energy trading community. So these are our three different sectors from which we are getting some tractions.
So, a lot of times when you're going into a new company, you're testing, it sounds like you're testing a lot of waters. Are you at all considering like, okay, this one's the way to go, and this is where we'll get our initial traction on it? Because if spreading yourself thin can always be,
Yeah,
stressful and a lot of energy trying to go in multiple
that's
directions.
right. So that's why our current focus is the energy sector. We are
Okay.
more focused on the grid-related stuff. The two products on the energy, the fire weather as well as the early alert warning system is what we are building and what we have already built. And the third one that is coming in close is the capacity modeling. But
Okay.
all are for the use of the energy sector. I mean, they can be used otherwise too, but yeah.
Okay. Well, is there any good news coming up in the weather forecasting for the next year?
Well, you have to subscribe to our products to be able to know that. Yes.
Fair, fair enough, fair enough. I was gonna check if Gary had any additional questions. Were there any questions? Actually, we have one from Brian Hoblet. What are the input data sets aside from looking at individual data sets, solar radiation, temp, humidity? Is there other sources that you go to kind of get a score for fire risk or generation?
Oh, yeah. We use most of our work is based off, data that is climate data, climate models and observations. But we do look at, particularly for fire, we are looking at built up indexes like, what is out there to burn. And they get updated, and our models are such that they are using fully interactive climate models. So you have, all parts of the Earth's climate dynamics taking place there, so that we are not surprised. I mean, that's how we can capture all the El Nino and La Nina kind of phenomena.
So it sounds like most of your success has been in the, I guess, the energy sector. But you also showed us a really cool kind of prediction of the Texas Steakhouse Creek fire. So
Yeah.
have you had any examples where you've seen something like that and been able to, been able to have mitigation strategy implemented beforehand? Any success
So
stories?
that's exactly the work right now we are going to follow up. That work was with in partnership and questions that Excel Energy gave us on the smokehouse fire, and we are following up with the larger set of product that they can test and build their mitigation strategies on. Yes.
Well, XL Energy would be a great partner for growth, and I really wish you luck on that. They've actually seemed really engaged in a lot of this one. I've gone to, I guess, different discussions around about, I guess, energy and everything, because that's basically what they do as a utility down there. Gary, do you have any additional questions?
No, I mean you're in the situation where you're still trying to validate models and bring data forward. But building a business means finding customers and making sure you have repeat customers. So
Yeah,
you're just beginning to do that right now.
that's
Um,
right.
it's very intriguing what you have already, and I wish you the best in terms of working the rest of this out. It's very impressive in terms of what data analysis can bring to the party. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah,
um,
and we are actually really looking for, small paid pilots that would help make the case. And so, any connections, any one of you would like us to test or connect us with would be greatly appreciated.
I saw some people asking for your slides in the chat. I see that you've put your email in the chat, so feel free to reach out with her and engage with her, get her slides and hear more about, I guess, the detail that goes into creating such a great product. And with that, we're reaching our time, so I'm going to wrap us up. If unless actually, I want to offer you the Savarna the final words that you have for us around climate informatics.
Oh, absolutely. We are very grateful to have spoken to your audience, and we are always looking for such opportunity to, reach out to more people. And so we really look forward to be able to, grow our business and the products as they are shaping up. So please reach us with your contacts and pilot asks and even investment asks. We would look forward to it. And we really appreciate all the support we have got from CalSeed, from all our accelerators. We have gone through a lot of them, and we are very lucky to have been mentored well.
All right. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I want to thank Subara Bachara for joining us today, co-founder and CEO of Climate Informatics. I first saw you going through CalSeed and thought, this is a really cool technology. I think it could make a huge difference. So I encourage everyone to reach out and talk with her and learn more about it. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Subara Local Utility, Chico Start, the Northern California iHub, Fresno State, the CEC's Innovation Cluster for the Central Valley, Witten Law, a big supporter of early stage startups and clean tech companies here in Sacramento, and River City Bank, a leading provider of project financing for clean energy projects. And also our highlight some of our upcoming events. Our Clean Tech Power Up on February 20th. Register today. Sustainable building materials with Valley Adobe and new air and water infrastructure with Emergy. They're coming back to talk to us about all the progress they have made in the past 1.5 years since we talked with them last. And also, if you like what we're doing, please go to cleanstart.org. We're in the middle of our fundraising campaign right now, and donate to us. Help us reach our goal. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.